Welcome back to our first episode in a really long time of Exposing It All. Today we're going to share a testimony because I think it could touch somebody else or encourage somebody else. All the things we went through in the month of September alone. So I guess we'll just start off with what happened with our car. So we had a car, right? That was financed. We had regular maintenance done on it consistently. My last maintenance that I had paid the mobile mechanic to come and do explained our transmission. David wasn't here, he was working. But the mechanic explained that our transmission was failing and showed me the metal in the fluid and said, you probably want to trade this car in now, right now. And so I let David know. We're like, well, should we go look for a new car? And that's what we did. We went to go look for a new car. Mm-hmm. We went to a local dealership, right? The first local dealership.
Pay here, whatever.
And just try to see like what we could get. Buy here, pay here. Didn't work out. They wanted $9,000 down, didn't want our car. Because of course, when we pulled up, what happened?
The check engine light came on.
The check engine light came on. Of course, we saw cars that were beautiful. And we're like, what if we just, pay for the car without doing a trade-in then? They still wanted $9,000. Yep. So then we started our car venture. And we talked to our pastor who had some car connections and went to look at a couple of different places. But we could not find anything that was going to allow us to have a car, take a car. Because obviously debt to income is something, credit, all of that. For less than, $9,000? Even another buy here, pay here?
Yeah. They wanted so much down and didn't have that right up front. Went to multiple places. They're willing to, if you had more money down, then they're willing to work with you. But obviously, even with places that had, vehicles that were not subpar or even needed some work, they wanted a lot down for their vehicles. And it just didn't seem worth it to put that kind of money out if there was no benefit. And then the biggest thing was we have a big family, so we needed a third row vehicle. And a lot of the third row vehicles are big and expensive, or they were just enough third row, but not big enough for our family. So our family's growing, obviously. So, and they're getting older and getting bigger. So it's just not that easy.
Our 16-year-olds might eventually be driving too. So it's why invest into a brand new vehicle that has high mileage and have to put that much down, and then you have interest to pay. So a little bit of backstory on our car too. We financed back in 2021. We spent a little over when we calculated it and looked at all of our payments, 26 to 28 grand on it already. And the car was only financed at 18,000. Yeah. So we tried to do a settlement with them to see if we could buy it and then fix it and all these things. Long story short, we came to terms with surrendering the vehicle and taking the hit and going ahead and still paying whatever is left after the sale. They still haven't sold it, and they even offered it back to us.
It was freaking just to know that we spent that much money, took care of it, did what we needed to do, take care of it, and then even thought about dropping the $3,000 to $5,000 on a transmission. But it was just putting Band-Aid on a bullet wound at that point. And that's why we tried to look at all avenues before we're just let's go get a new vehicle, let's just do this or whatever. So it was bittersweet. Sarah's gonna get to the point of what all we did with it and what happened. But yeah, it was a lot at once. It was hard. We're not just right down the street from the places that we go work or even church. We live in the Springs now, and traveling to Denver just for church or just to go to work is not that easy. Yeah. So it's not you could get a beater to get from here to down the street to your job. No, it was you need something reliable. You need to be able to be dependable on it as well, and safe for our family. So there's a lot of factors in the key there.
Yeah. And I said September, but actually the car it had been June or July, actually, when I did the maintenance. So this happened with our main vehicle, and this is our main vehicle to travel to and from here to church, to everywhere. It's a vehicle that fits all the kids. Mm-hmm. We do have another vehicle that David was using for work, and I'll get to that next. But after we tried to work with the financing company for a while, and they were like, oh, you still owe us 15, 16 grand. I was like, what? Yes, there's interest. We knew that it was high interest. We could have refinanced at one point and we missed that opportunity, whatever. But we're not about having a lot of debt. Our car was our biggest debt. We rent a home. We didn't buy a home. Our car was our biggest debt in our life. That's it, Yeah. We also had our beloved Honda Odyssey, which most people know about, and several people borrowed and used that vehicle for a long time, from friends to family. And we had that car for a while. So fast forward, when I got the maintenance done, it was June or July. So there's that. And then fast forward to September, the car, the brakes started going out. The rotors needed done on the car. And I was we're not going to have this car for a long time. I don't want to invest in it. We had talked to our pastor, so he was going to help us out and get us a vehicle, which he did. Yeah. He got us a vehicle, and we were able to do the surrender smoothly. And then came a few weeks ago. We were driving the new car we had just gotten. And on the highway, it was running well. We got it from Denver to here. So, it was fine. We drove it around town, whatever. We were on our way on I-25 to church, and the car broke down. and it had this message, and I was like, oh, maybe it might be like faulty pump or whatever, like we called, like the mechanic looked at everything, and even when we brought it home, our mobile mechanic came and looked at it, was like, you got a still of a deal on this vehicle, it looks great, checked everything, we got brand new tires on it, we got it detailed. We were so happy to just have a vehicle that wasn't financed and not be massively in debt.
Right.
And thankful for a pastor who was like going to the ends of the world to like help us get a vehicle, like did everything, like
so much,
like paid the mechanic on our behalf, like didn't have to, but did. Okay. Like just because we were in that type of situation, like David just started his business as well. So it's not like we were in these like financial place to like even get a new car necessarily, but we were going to make the sacrifice if we had to, because we know what it's like to budget. We know what it's like to run a tight ship if we have to. But so we got that car, and on our way to church, we broke down on I-25, and such a blessing. And I'm sharing this story because I think everybody that helped us out was not expected and not in our worlds. Like when we broke down, who did we call?
Even that day, like I didn't know anybody else to call, and I had worked with one of my friends, somebody that I met in the Springs that I worked with in Pueblo, and he and I would carpool to Pueblo. So I was like, I seen his apartment from when we broke down, and I was like, I don't know anybody else who to call. So I called my friend, and thank God he did answer, and he's like, yeah, I'll be on my way. Like send me your address, send me your location, because even more so, we tried to call the insurance to come.
Yeah, the roadside assistance.
And it was such a fiasco. They could not find us because they wanted an exact location.
They gave the wrong coordinates.
We were on the left side of the highway, not on the right hand side of the highway. So we were on the fast lane side of the highway. So my friend did come pick us up, but I was still waiting for the tow truck. So my friend came and got Sarah and the kids. And this is Sunday, so we're on our Sunday best, and came and got them. I was so appreciative of my friend. So shout out to him. Thank you so much.
The middle of the highway, and he got a car that wasn't even his because he knew that we had
his vehicle and got us and took them home safely. So blessed to have him and people like that in our corner. And then not only that, I was waiting for, like I said, the tow truck, and ended up, long story short, waiting for 3 hours in the car for a tow truck. So during that time, our pastor, because we were on our way to church, let us know that he was going to bring church to us. So he drove with his family and a couple other members to our house.
Yeah.
And Sarah can finish what happened, because I wasn't there when they
got. So David's friend, picked us up, brought us home. Somebody he hasn't even talked to in months either, because they only worked together for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. But somebody he knew lived close to that area, on the middle of the highway. We're not talking about even in a safe zone. We were in the fast lane. So we had to pull over as close as possible off the highway. Like it was even dangerous for me to get out of the car to walk around to get in another car. Yeah. But his friend to show up, like somebody you don't expect, like not a friend that you talk to every day, not a family member, nothing like that, but somebody we didn't even expect to show up to get a car big enough to transport our family, me and the kids, back home safely. David waited the car. I did call roadside assistance, and we had that on tow and everything on our insurance. But the thing is, they asked me for the coordinates because we were on the highway. I gave them the coordinates. They gave the wrong coordinates. The tow truck driver he says the ticket was canceled. We don't know if it was, but he told David it was going to be like, we were 12 miles from home. He said $300 to tow us. And I was like, what? But then we heard there's also a scam that goes around where people cancel if they're third party through roadside assistance and charge somebody because you're in desperate need. I ended up finding somebody locally through Facebook Marketplace that charged less than half. Such a cool guy, like awesome guy. Like he did have to wait for a little bit, but it was an awesome tow to get here. And like David said, our pastor brought church to us. So it was a Sunday. We were going to have church, but instead they brought the church to us. And our pastor not only brought the church to us for us to have church here, brought another vehicle for us to have in the meantime. Yep. Because we broke down. And he didn't have to do that, but out of the kindness of his heart, to make sure we were not vehicle-less or car-less, he brought a vehicle to us that we could use. And we still have it. We've still been using it. And we'll get to that here in a second, but we had that vehicle. And so, we have church. When David finally gets home from being towed and everything, we have a little bit of church. The kids are anxious, so we let them go play outside. We let them play outside and stuff, and kids are kids. There's no innocence here, and our kids know how to take accountability. All of them, all the other kids that were here too, they know as well. They were playing outside, and we have in our neighborhood, it's a very new neighborhood, so the fences are very, very short. So like you could kick a ball and it'll go over the neighbor's yard. Like we balls back and forth, especially when there's kids in the neighborhood, like all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Apparently, while we were praying, the kids were throwing rocks. Not fun. And no, it was nobody until we told them like, hey, our neighbor came to the door aggressively, not kindly, like, hey, your kids are throwing rocks. Can you tell them to stop? Or didn't even like correct them. Mm-hmm. But instead she comes to our door aggressively cussing, telling us we have these terrible kids. This situation basically escalated. Like, well, we have church folk here and stuff. Like, not to say that this doesn't happen or that it shouldn't happen because we have church people here, but she like came to the door and David was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Is anything broken? She's like, I don't know. I didn't check. She just came to the door aggressively telling us how bad these kids are and they're our kids, whatever. And he had asked, like, is anything broke? She said that she would go and check and come back. And then the son came back and said that there might have been some damage. And so we're like, okay, let's go take a look at it. But she refused to let David go over there. Long story short, it escalated. And of course, we asked the kids, like, who did it? Who's throwing rocks? It was nobody. But then they finally admitted to who actually was throwing rocks. From anything we could see, there was no damage. But we're like, get an estimate. Let us know. Like, we could pay for damages. I'm so sorry. Like,
I took a picture of it. Said, I was real, nice and polite. Like, hey, go ahead and take a look at it. We'll take care of it. Send us a bill. Thinking in my head, hey, we could even fix it ourselves. My pastor knows how to install windows. Like, we have people that can do stuff, whatever it is. So like she said, we did everything right,
the right way.
Even at the right spirit, with somebody coming at you aggressively or talking to you crazy, because like I said, I answered the door and she was like, your kids, few choice words and all this stuff, and I was like, you don't have to talk like that. We could talk like an adult. You can talk to me. And I was talking to her politely, said, was there anything broken? We can take a look at it. Like, let's just, I wasn't rude at all. I wasn't anything like that. So it turned into
and she continued to be aggressive, not to interrupt you, but she continued to be aggressive. So I went to the door and I was like, we have guests. Like, we don't have to talk like that. Like, we're adults. Like, you don't have to curse and everything else. And she got louder. As soon as she saw my face, she got more aggressive and got louder and then started cussing me out like crazy. And all I said was, you need Jesus. And I promise you, a demon came out.
She went even more
she went
deeper and in depth to Sarah, because at this time, myself and our pastor are standing out there, just standing there talking to her. And she's just like talking right at Sarah, going aggressively at Sarah, trying to,
like my
judge her character,
yes,
about her from head to toe, trying to rip her apart and everything. And it was just like, felt like an attack, obviously, from the spiritual side. But it was just like, for us, it was like, we're in front of a pastor, we just had church, we were having this other turmoil with the vehicle. So it's like, you're trying to have the right spirit, and you're also trying not to lose that spiritualness either. Because like, yeah, your flesh does want to take over, but you also want to be respectful, because at that time, people were outside,
the whole neighborhood, because it's a very quiet,
so it's just like
family neighborhood.
Attack Sarah like that when that was unnecessary. Obviously there was something that like she saw in Sarah was feared of Sarah, or she felt like she was just, I don't know what it was, but when Sarah said, you need Jesus, she just started cussing more, started going in on Sarah,
attacking my looks, my glasses, my gray hair, calling me old. Like, she was just
dress and
like, and then threatened to call the cops. Like, initially she said like she wasn't going to call the cops because they don't like any of us. Like, she's a minority, we're minorities. But then she calls the cops, and all of a sudden we're Mexicans, and just racial comments and all this stuff, and like then talking about our vehicles outside, talking about we Mexicans have parties and they have all these people parked around the block. Fortunately, somebody recorded, because she did call the cops and they didn't come until after 10 p.m. that night. And even the cops' words were this: she was a bit ridiculous, and it sounds like you guys are trying to handle this as adults. Even when I went outside, because she was talking a little crazy to our pastor, and I knew David could handle himself, but I was like, all right. And if David could tell you, like, the old me or situations we've had in the past, he was holding me back. So I was like, you have anger issues. Like, I don't know why this has to be so extra. Just get an estimate and we can pay for if there's damage. But no, I was like, you need Jesus. I was like, you need Jesus. And I'm telling you, like, her voice, we have the whole thing recorded, and her voice just progressed, and she was like spewing at me. But I was like, girl, in Jesus' name. Like, that's all I could say. But to say that and to be able to meet that aggression like that for the both of us too, because even David, like, we'll get aggressive and match your energy and match your tone. But neither one of us did. And it wasn't because we had people here, but I think it's because truly the Holy Spirit has changed who we are on the inside out and how we react to situations or react to other people's anger.
Yeah, I like to think so.
So we ended up, like, she said she was going to call the cops. We decided we were going to go and eat, because our church people were here. We always eat after church. So we were going to go eat. We're like, okay, girl, we live. Like, she was like, they're leaving. Like, she even attacked the fact that I homeschool my kids. And I was like, you know that much about me? Like, how much do you watch me that you know I homeschool my kids?
Yeah,
too. Like, and she was like, oh, she's watching my moves. Like, all the stuff that she said was just wild. And like, I don't want to glorify the evil of it, but let me tell you, like, the fact that she knew so much about me or my children was kind of weird too. But either way, we're just like, pray for her, right? So we eat, we come back, we're like, man, it was a crazy day. Like, we still felt the weight of it, right? Like, me and David were sitting here and we're like, now it's time to chill. Yep. Then we get a phone call from my dad, and I was like, what? Oh no. And David's like, what? He's like, I'm broken down. He was driving our van, the Honda Odyssey, which is also David's work van, right? He's driving our van, and he's like, I don't know, I broke down. So David's like, okay, I'll go for you. He goes for him. They look under the hood, and what was it? What did you see?
So yeah, I go to get Dad. I'm like, all right. So he took it to church. He takes the vehicle to church, which is his regular routine. So I'm like, on top of another thing, just felt like, oh gosh, let's go get Dad taken care of, make sure he's okay. So I pull up, and he's pulled over in a safe spot, and actually pull up a little bit more so we can get him in a safer spot. And I'm like, what happened? He said, well, all I seen was a smoke come from the front of the vehicle to the back of the vehicle. So I pulled over and I tried to restart it, and it wasn't starting or turning over for me. So I got underneath the vehicle. After opening the hood, nothing looked crazy underneath there because he already had the hood open. So I looked underneath the car, and I see a piston like through the bottom of the block. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's not good at all. I took a picture of it, and I was like, yeah, this isn't good, Dad.
And a hole you might have been driving around to Denver with before.
There's another hole on the front face side of it, not on the bottom. So I was like, all right, let's get either my tools out of here, or let's just see if we can pull it back. Well, the little vehicle that I had, I didn't think it would be able to pull it, and we don't want to damage it because that was our pastor's vehicle. So I told my father-in-law, call him, Dad. I said, Dad, let's go get you back home. Let's grab your van and see if we can get the straps and pull the Honda back. So he's like, all right. So we tell Sarah what's happening. We're like, all right, we're gonna go get the Dad's van, and we get his van, and we get it hooked up, get it strapped. My dad's driving his van, and I'm in the back in neutral, just pretty much controlling it, and we get it back to the house, get it pulled up, parked, because it's disabled. There's nothing, it barely turned on and went to neutral. So the crazy thing too is every time Dad uses the vehicle, he just filled up with a full tank of gas. So I have a full tank of gas. So I'm like thinking in my head, do I go siphon this gas? Like we need gas inside the vehicle. Anyways, we get here and I'm just like, all right, we made it. My tools are there. I'll get my tools cleaned out the next day, whatever I got to do. Fine. And
like
then,
shower and go to bed after this.
yeah, we're like,
right?
let's wash this day off of us. Right. And then I'm just like thinking, cause like Sarah already told you, like, they're like, the police did come, but we didn't think the police were going to come. We're like, oh, they probably would have showed up by now.
Yeah.
So, Sarah just had taken a shower and I was sitting on the bed and I look outside and I was like, babe, guess what? And she's like, what? And I was like, the police are here. They weren't directly in front of our house, but they were across the street.
Yeah.
So
I was like, no. And
it was
this is
just-
like 10 o'clock at night already.
seconds later, we get a ring at the doorbell and it's a police officer, really nice gentleman. He's like, this call has been in queue since 5 o'clock. We're just getting to it right now. So obviously they were super busy and it wasn't that important to get to, but still, like, he had just went over to the neighbor's house and talked to her, asked her what happened, and then came over to us and got our side of it. And we explained just what we explained to you folks about everything that took place, how we wanted to take care of it, and everything of that sort.
And it was ridiculous. Like he said
that, honestly, the kids that were involved,
they were underage and there was nothing they could do.
Can you make a report about it? So what do we want to do to resolve this? And like we said from the beginning, if they give us a bill, we'll pay for it. And then however that may go with that. So whatever adult moves that need to be made, we'll take care of them, do them. So,
and here's the kicker too, is that he had said they couldn't do anything. It's civil. And we would pretty much have to settle it. However, the neighbor said she feared us now and didn't want to come to our door.
Yeah. So how was they going to get a bill over to us? I was like, well, they can leave it in the door, just drop it off. They don't have to have any physical interaction at all because it was all like, it was mutual. We don't want to see you. You don't want to see us. That's understandable. We are neighbors, but we don't have to, cross paths and build bubbles or anything like that. So it was a lot at that point. So just like, oh Lord, one thing after another, just kept on, kicking us down that day. And
that whole day. And then we had the next week where my coworker, amazing coworker, had said there's a vehicle available for us and that we could pay when we have the funds, right? And I was like, no, there's no way I'm going anywhere until I can pay this. But then, okay, like we're at the point now we have one vehicle. My dad's vehicle is broken down. That's why he was using ours to go to church. And we were like, okay, well, do we go? Like, what do we do? Because the other vehicle we got from our pastor was still at the mechanic and not ready in that week. So we go 1 week with like no vehicle, borrowing his vehicle, but it wasn't third row, so it's not big enough. So then we're like, okay, let's go. Let's drive out there and we'll just drive it back. So we set everything up. We set up hotels, we book cars, everything. So I put it under David because we always rent. He does majority of the driving. I do very, very little driving on road trips. Even if I offer, I don't love to drive. Mm-hmm. But we go and it's my credit card, David's name. Basically, they wouldn't change his profile. They wouldn't put my name on it. We couldn't clear any other credit cards to put it on because we don't do a lot of credit cards or debt either.
Yeah, we tried to do a debit card, but they needed a credit card because it was a one-way trip. So that's what they talked about. Not only that, we were picking it up from the airport. So the airport has a higher clearance, security, whatever they need to do. So they weren't able to change anything. And we tried at the last minute, like, well, can we just change the appointment to the morning? They're like, yes, you can. And at that point, Sarah's like, let's just cancel it. And the guy was like, you know what? If you guys are going to cancel it, call them in the morning and say these exact words that we had a debit card they wouldn't let us use and they'll credit everything back. So we're like, all right, cool. So that's what we did. Because even then we were licking our wounds. We were just like, what do we do? Like this is like such a defeat.
Yeah. And not only did it was it a defeat between like what happened to us, but we start fighting and we realized like it's not even about us. It is about the circumstances of life. And
because at that point we were ready to go. We had everything. The car,
packed vehicles, the kids ready.
Like come back and just go in the vehicle and take off. And it was just like the wind was taking out our sails. So then it was just like, all right, now we're attacking each other. We're attacking, the kids are asking questions and we're biting their heads off. Yeah. They don't understand. And it's just like, what do we do? What did I do wrong? Or what did I do?
And then we're like, why God? Like, what did we do?
Are we in the... Obviously, I think at that point we realized that we were not on the same page, and God had things for a reason. We're like, well, maybe God didn't want us to go, or there was something that happened, and we didn't need to. The trip didn't need to be made, and everybody reached out to Sarah that could and was like encouraging her, like, hey, I understand. I wish I could do this for you if I could. Even our pastor said,
like, offered to drive us, like just us two, like,
and take you
there. If you need to go and get it, we'll take you there now. My friend, she was like, if my car would go, I would pick you up and take you to California right now because that's I'll get to that part here in a second too. But like we had people that I was like, man, we don't have anybody. We never have support. It's never the people you expect, though. That's the truth of it. It's never the people that you expect. And we realized that it wasn't about us, but God was showing us something because we had to talk and we weren't on the same page about the decisions we were making, for one. And then for two, the week before, not to boast, but I think it's a very important part. The week that we were going to go and get the car, I felt like the Lord spoke to me and said to fast for a certain amount of days and to just saturate myself in the word, get off social media, etc. So I did that. And I was like, Lord, I'm doing everything right. Why? And I remember talking to my friend Christina and she said, I don't know why, like she's one of the very few people I shared everything with, all the details. And I was like, I don't know why this is happening. Like, I just don't understand. She's like, I don't know why Job keeps coming to mind. She had a message for me from church. Like God really used her as a vessel to speak to me. And then I read the book of Job. While we were in waiting, because we had to push out the car, like going out to California, we had to push out this whole trip of picking up another vehicle for my coworker and friend. He's more than a coworker. He's our friend. He's our adopted family member.
Most definitely best friend.
Yes. So we went to I read the book of Job and I took more time off social media, like off my distractions. God stripped me of my idols and my distractions. I can't say that David has as many distractions as I do because he works with his hands. I, on the other hand, yes, I do work with my hands, but I work from home and I have a lot more distractions, and God just stripped me of convenience. He stripped me of my idols, my distractions, the things that keep me away from him or keep me away from his word. And in that meantime, I read his word and I kept leaning into him like I never have before, and not to ask for something, but to learn. I was educating myself in the word, and the book of Job brought me so much conviction. I'm like, man, Lord, I've said too much. Just like Job, I said too much. Like I tried to justify our righteousness, my sacrifice, and be right. Like, why not me? Why not me? But then at the same time, why not you? And we scheduled the trip for this past weekend. And I PTSD the whole time. Like, is my car going to break down? Are we going to get out of here?
And I always have like I'm always trying to be the calm in the storm. Not that she's just a storm, but it's just like,
oh, I'm a storm.
that I'm just like, all right, like everything's going to be okay. Like God's good. There's even when we made all the decisions in the new car pickup and everything went smoothly. Everything worked out. We had things packed. We got the day early. Just like everything's going to work out. God's going to make it. God has made a way for us. We're on the same page. We're in alignment. We prayed about it. We actually prayed together. So things are working out. We're on the same page, and we're going to move forward. And this is happening. Like everything is happening. Even with the traffic. Sarah hates traffic. We're going to hit.
Oh my gosh.
So, things like she said, she's like explaining to me so I can, not that I didn't understand, but just like her frustrations, her PTSD, if you will, her feeling like, oh, well, I'm hoping for the best, but
there was a role.
Find out whether the worst happens or not. And we're traveling, we get, outside of, we're on I-70 and we get past a couple of bridges and we get to the next big pass and
dead stop traffic. And we didn't know why. Like we checked the CDOT, I checked Facebook pages. I checked traffic alerts. I checked everything. Couldn't figure it out. We sat on a bridge for 2.5 hours, and I was like, "Do we turn back around? Like, is this the will of God? Like, are we in the will of God?" So but there's no way. It's a bridge. That's it. It's a bridge up here and down here. Like, unless you're jumping, like there ain't no way out.
Jumping, no, they're jumping, but turn back around was not an option. So we got there, got out, stretched out. People thought it was camping time, so there was people walking, getting on their bikes,
making food, making a sandwich, people sitting on the bridge. Like this is just normal to be closed sometimes, I guess.
We've seen some action happened towards the end, the beginning of the line, and we saw, instead of the yellow flashing lights, we saw green lights. So we everybody starts turning their vehicles back on, and we start going. Like Sarah said, after 2.5 hours, it just stopped dead on the highway. And the traffic coming towards you, for those 2.5 hours. So we finally get over, veered into one lane, and we see that it's an Amazon truck.
That was rolled over,
and they had two big rigs to try and suspend each other, like back and forth, to lift him up and get him out of the way. But it's a two-way highway, and there was no easy way to do that. So thank God we got through. There was still more traffic. And
but here's the thing too, is I was going to say, when we went through, I read later that night that it shut down. They only had it open for 10 to 15 minutes before they shut it down for the night till the next day. And so we were able to pass through. Yeah, God allowed us to go through. So that's what I'm saying. Like, God had his hand on us. And I kept telling Sarah, like, see, God is making way for us to happen. This isn't us doing it, because the times before it was, we're going to push it. We're going to take everybody else's advice. Oh, yeah, you come get us and let's take it. And like, that's you putting it in your own hands. And that's obviously not working. God had to show us that. So everything was happening. And then, obviously I was doing the driving. So I was like, let's make this trip to a certain point and we'll stop and rest. Well, that 2 hours kind of put us behind of what we were scheduled to stop and get to our hotel. So it wasn't the right amount of time for us to get there, check in, and all this stuff. So it was about 3:00 in the morning when we finally got to our stop. So after resting at our stop for a few hours, we get to California. And what's in California?
Traffic.
The lovely California traffic. And we arrive with what? We still have to get gas, wash the car because it has to be returned the same way it was given to us in Colorado.
Yeah.
And we have minutes before it's due, before they charge you for another day. And their next day, when I called because the traffic held us up, a next day rental was what? How much was it? Do you remember?
It was like double the price. It was like a whole another day. So it'd been like $300. And then on top of that, if you didn't fill up gas, it was $10 a gallon. So not that, California gas was already expensive. So we're like, heck no, we're not gonna do that. So we're like barely making it. We got to the place and then we went and got gas. We cleaned up the car with like the little, window washer squeegee and some napkins, dusted off the inside. Like I said, literally got there. Our friend was waiting. We unloaded the car, loaded the kids up into the new vehicle, and we went and took the vehicle up into the loading zone and drop off area. So we get there, and mind you, before we got the vehicle at the budget in Walmart, they told us, don't just give your keys to anybody in a parking lot.
Do
Well,
not
oh,
give them. Go to a counter.
there's a guy,
Or the
he has the
exact
vest on, he scans the front thing, you know. Of course, I'm ready to go. So I'm like, here's the keys. And Sarah walks around the vehicle and she's like, oh, hey, are you sure we're supposed to give the keys to you, not to the counter? And he's like, no, everything will get done here. You're good to go. And she proceeded to just make sure that he was scanning everything, had it right, and he showed her and verified it. He's like, the counter's right there, but everybody's out here.
You'll get a digital receipt through your email.
So we're like, all right, cool. So we literally walk out, we take the elevator down and we walk over to our friends. And then I think like not even a couple minutes, what was it, like 15, 20 minutes later, you got the confirmation.
Yeah, I think like by the time we got to the car, because we had to walk down, or we took the elevator down. So we took the elevator down, walked to the car, where our friend was in our new car. And we had left the kids with him too. We're like, we're going to return this. And that's the other thing too, right after we got gas and washed the windows with a squeegee, we were like, okay, where at the airport do we drop it off? Like we followed the sign, but there was no entry. So then luckily when we did see our friend, that he explained if we followed it around, it should take us to the rental car, because he was picking us up. So he couldn't get into the rental car area. So there was that. But literally like minutes when we got to the car, I was like, I was scared, because remember when we rented the car, they said, do not hand your keys to anybody in a vest. I don't care if they're wearing a vest that looks like us, go to a counter.
Exactly.
But this airport was everybody pulled up, and there was spikes to go the opposite way. So nobody could just like dip out with the car there. But, and that's the thing too, people were honking at us because we didn't know if the spikes were facing this way or facing that way to enter the airport. So we were like, do they go down for us to drive over? And people are just like honking because it's California, you know, they'll kill you if they got to get over. But yeah, so after we get to, like, basically we went to California because our friend blessed us with that vehicle that we didn't have to pay in full upfront.
No.
And that's just a huge blessing. Cause like I said, financially, we weren't ready to get into another car payment. We didn't want to either. Like we had PTSD, like, and I don't use that term lightly. I'm serious. Like it felt traumatizing to think about getting into another car loan, financing another vehicle. Like I couldn't believe it. Like and it felt so surreal because of course, you know, he's like the best tour guide ever. And even the kids, because we had rentals for a couple of weeks too, because we did rent a couple of vehicles in between, because we're like, oh, we're going to get this car here. Oh, wait, we're going to get this car. And we also wanted to try to save our money. But at the same time, we needed a vehicle safe and big enough for our entire family to go everywhere, because we go everywhere together, right?
Yes.
And sometimes with my dad too. So that's 7 of us. We need a 7-passenger vehicle.
Yep.
So there was times that like after we went on our little California adventures that the kids were like, are we taking him home? What are we doing? Is he taking us to the hotel?
Yeah.
Because they were so confused, right?
Like, are we using is he going to drop us off with his car? What is the car that we're getting? And we're going to explain to them, like, the car that we're in is the car that we're getting. And they're like, oh, I thought this was our car. He's like, it is. And we're like, well, so we did our thing that day. We went out and got something to eat. We hung out for a little while. We had a day on the town. And then
a day. Okay. Like our feet hurt
kind
of day.
It was a great time.
But we had so much fun. And it was like an unplanned vacation, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, we made the best of it. Like with the kids, we went out sightseeing. We went and got some merchandise. We got some fun stuff. We took some great pictures.
The coffee.
We got some coffee. We got some goodies. We got some sugars. Some stuff we probably shouldn't have, like, you know. But it was fun just to check out the town and do everything. But once we dropped off our friend at his house and we were going back to the hotel. That's like what Sarah said. Like it was surreal because like we dropped off our friend and now it's just us and the kids and the car, and they're like, we're taking the car with us. I'm like, yeah, this is our car. So we went back to the hotel, and even then it was like unloading it and, you know, just parking it and everything in the parking garage, going up to the hotel. It was just like, wow, we made it. Like, what a blessing. Like, what a sigh of relief that you can truly have after all the other, you know, ups and downs and everything. It's just like God truly made a way and put people in our lives to allow us to be blessed and allow us to be, you know, just like at ease and have a good night's rest finally. And the next day we were going to head back home.
Yeah. And it was like that day we just did, like, we got breakfast, we did the paperwork, you know, like title paperwork and all of that, agreed on pricing and everything. And I didn't have a lot to give that day, but let me tell you, my friend didn't bat an eye. I was like, that's fine. Yeah, and it's so surreal to us, I think, because we've always been givers. Like, we're the type of people that are like, oh, you don't have a car? Well, we have an extra car, so use our car. At that Honda Odyssey, I can't tell you how many people have used that vehicle. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about for a couple of weeks. I'm talking about months. I think somebody had it for almost a year. So we're those type of people that would be, and not to boast or to brag or be like, oh, we're the givers, but it's very hard when you're on the giving side to actually receive, because I've been struggling with it. Like the whole way home, I was like, I knew this car was ours and I knew like we had the title in hand, but it wasn't until we actually pulled up back at home in our garage that I was like, wow, we made it. Yeah. This car is ours. Like God opened the doors, even like not even paid in full. God still opened the doors. Like, and that's the biggest part of the testimony, because how many people do that? How many people have that kind of trust or have those kind of friends? Like, I had friends that I thought were good friends, but let me tell you, I was putting my name on the line for these friends. Like never once has somebody done that for us. And it's such a big testimony. And then we get home and all of a sudden the floodgates open. We have multiple opportunities. We find out the one car that we got from our pastor that broke down needed an engine, but it was also going to be a replacement engine at no charge to us. no charge to us. And then somebody else offers us a vehicle that's slightly bigger that would work for David for work and everything else. And yes, we still have to pay for these things, but nobody's asking us for everything in full, which I've never heard of such a thing. And it's just,
and it's a humbling experience. And, it just takes you back to like that, it's about God putting people in your life, and
yes,
you are actually truly being blessed through that. And a lot of times we want like the old saying of like, God, I want you to bless me, and you're waiting on it. And so many times like we've been there and we're like, all right, God, how come you haven't blessed us, when we missed opportunities of the people that you sent to our lives, or the opportunities, that we did not see as being a gift from God, or not being open or aware to those things. So definitely blessed that we were able to be out with our spiritual antennas on, and be able to receive it, and still like try and fight off the flesh to be like, is this real? Is this okay to accept this? But knowing that God is going to take care of us through it all, it has, and continues to do so. And we're trusting in him, and he's fully doing it his way. Like we said before in the beginning, that you try and do it your way, and God's going to, what's the old saying? Not old saying, but you tell God your plans and he laughs, because those are not your...
Even the best laid plans go astray, and we had it all planned out. We know exactly what we were going to do. And not only that, but like not being financially prepared, we were in a position where I'm like looking for a second job. I'm like looking whatever I can do. I am multifaceted. I have different degrees and certifications. So of course I'm qualified to do more than what I do for my 9 to 5. And I got denied. I have literally over 30 denials in my email. Like, denials? You don't want me not even part-time? Like, it's weird that they're like, oh, you're just not the best fit. And I'm like, what? I have different resumes that have been updated because I built resumes for people, so I know what I'm doing. I also had a friend who worked for one of those temp agencies, and she reviewed it and like also showed me how to like update my resume to have like the keywords, etc. Even if AI is reviewing it, like keywords, and yet nobody wanted me. And it was like, God, that was not the plan God had for us. And the reason we're sharing this testimony is because it might encourage somebody else. Like, you might be on a road, like trying to fix things. And yes, God helps those who help themselves. However, sometimes he will bless you in your circumstances, and you have to just be open and willing to receive the blessing, because I wasn't ready to receive it. Even my friend, since we found out about the transmission, has told me about this vehicle he had. And that, hey, it's yours. If you want to come get it, you can drive back home, like multiple times. And I was like, no, like, I'm not the type of person that I believe what the Bible says, to owe no man nothing. I didn't always live that way, that I would borrow from Peter to pay Paul, etc. Like that type of person. I've lived like that. But God was showing me that's not any way to live. Like, that's no way to live. Like, you want to be back in the same exact position you got out of before? No. And I think that he used these circumstances, like I said, to strip me of that convenience and those idols. And not just me, David too. But, like, we have our prayer time and whatnot together every day. But our individual growth is important too. Like, what God showed me throughout this process, there was a lot of me I had to change. Not just my attitude. That's why I feel like everything happened. It was a storm. Like, everything, like even with the neighbor, like the aggression, like, how was your anger? How was your attitude towards everything? And of course, there was times that I felt like my world is falling apart and like God doesn't see me or what's going on. But it wasn't even that. Like, it was not that. And so many times it says the Bible says God will give you exceedingly abundantly above all you ask or think, right? Yeah. He also says that we have not because we ask not. And how many times have our prayers just been like so repetitive and we're not clear and direct in what we're asking for? And I feel like everything was falling apart even when we thought we had it figured out, because we weren't clear in what we were asking for. Yeah. We were so busy trying to lean into our own understanding and not into God.
And then God was also, like Sarah said, speaking to us. He spoke to us in our own ways of like, okay, well, if things aren't going right this way, then maybe you have to take a step back and look at and evaluate what's happening in your work life, in your family life, in your prayer life, in your marriage, everything like that, to where it had to be put into perspective of, there are things that you have to pour into more for myself, or I have to do more, and I can't just expect it to happen, and I can't just expect that things are just going to be a certain way just because you plan them. Well, if you know everything about the plan, then God isn't in that plan, right? Because God doesn't show you the whole plan and everything in that. So he had to, like Sarah said, put you on pause or put you in check, or get you to realize that, hey, I'm putting these, we think that they're blockers, but they're also just like, hey, they're self-reflection times to be like, okay, David, you need to focus more on this with yourself, so that you can better your family, your wife, your children, your job, your business. All of those things got put into perspective. And on the trip, we've seen so many things that spoke to myself, spoke to Sarah, to where we're like, okay, we understand, use what you have in front of you. Our pastors was saying that and taught us a lesson about that and went full in depth on it. But that's just the gist of it. Is pretty much God gives you what you have, and sometimes you have to look what you have in front of you and use that, instead of looking all around and trying to look over here, look over there. Look at what you have in front of you and use that, and God will make it be enough.
Or simply being thankful for the things that you do have,
gratitude,
like health and breath in your body. Being thankful that you woke up today, or being thankful that, hey, you might not like the job that you have, but guess what? It pays the bills, and you should be thankful for that. So work, like God says, do everything as if you're doing it unto the Lord. So work as if you're working unto the Lord. We also had growth throughout this process, because where do you pass through when you're going from Colorado to California? You pass through Vegas, right? How many times have we been to Vegas? Like, us in our marriage, we've already been a couple of times, right? I've been a bunch of times before that too. And it's like, what is there? What is there that's for us when God tells us to put no unclean thing before our eyes, things that might be a stumbling block to you, it's still sin to you. So it's like, why would you put yourself in that position? And also just like taking our kids, I'm like, there was growth throughout that because our whole plan was like, oh, let's go to Botanic Gardens in Bellagio. And then we're like, wait a second, we just had this revelation right before we got to Vegas, right? Like,
yeah, we were like, do we stop? Do we not? And it was just like, honestly, like, there's nothing, like,
nothing there for
it was
us.
cool to like go and see those, they're fun events, but it's also everything that is there is not to be good to our spirit or to be indulged in our spirit or good for
They
our
don't call it Sin City for nothing.
And that's exactly what I told Sarah. Like, this is called Sin City. Everything is there. And we listed off all the, you know, sins and all the, you know, lusts, everything, you know, all lusts, you know.
Lust, gluttony, like think about how many buffets they have. Like people don't talk about gluttony very often.
Reminder of like, hey, like this is, it can be triggering towards the mind, it can be triggering towards your flesh, whatever it may be. And you don't want to put yourself in those situations. Exactly. You don't want to be in those situations if you have control over it. And we drove right through it. Like, yeah, it was cool to see the lights and, oh, hey, we've been there before and stuff like that. But it's just like that old nostalgia or those type of things were not for us. And it wasn't a true stop that we wanted to make at all, because we just, one, we had a destination to get to and we wanted to get home. First we wanted to get to California, and then we wanted to get home. But it was growth, being able to be like, you know what, that's really not a part.
Did not even take a second thought about it. Like literally we got gas.
It is at the Botanic Gardens. Like it had nothing to do with what was going to be edifying to us or to God. So it was like, we want to know part of it, you know, because there's always things of, you know, hidden agendas are on the backside of whatever it may be that is not truly, you know, you may see it like as being innocent fun, but it's not. You got to be careful and you got to be wise of those things. So definitely, like Sarah said, it was growth, and it wasn't a missed opportunity for us at all. We didn't miss anything. You know, if anything, we missed our beds and our showers and our home, because
normally when we vacation, we stay in Airbnbs. We don't stay in hotels. So that's another thing. Like the kids sacrifice as well, because they share a bed, or we make a little makeshift bed for the little one because he's little. You know, like that's. It's a sacrifice for all of us, but also there's so much beauty, and to realize, you know, the people that God puts in your life. And sometimes God does put people in your life for a reason in a season. Mm-hmm. They're not always long-term. And we're learning to accept that because we have gone through that, not only with family, but friendships. And it's overall, we wanted to share the testimony of what God did for us, but all the storms. And that's, you know, we do this in brief detail, but try to share as much as possible so it makes sense, because if you were in that situation, how do you act? Or does it make somebody think about how they acted? You know, I thought even about sharing the videos, but I don't want to glorify the ugly, so I'm not going to share the videos, but I might share a little peep of what our car looks like, because it's definitely an upgrade. And one of my friends, like the Bible where it says to weep with those who are weeping, or mourn with those who are mourning, and rejoice with those who are rejoicing. I have never in my life had people rejoice with us the way they did about this situation. And one of my friends said it like so perfectly. She's like, God didn't just get you or have you, he got you real good. And I was like, oh, he sure did. Like he went above and beyond our expectations.
Which he says he'll do.
And yeah, so hopefully, you know, this encourages you. I mean, if you have questions or you want to know what scriptures I read in particularly, because I read a lot, I would be more than happy to share them with you. So you can message me, leave a comment, whatever. I'd be more than happy to share those scriptures. I mean, you only get like a small little blurb when you share these type of things on a podcast or video. You don't want to make your caption too long. So if you have questions about like what we read, how we prayed, like specific prayers, like you can always reach out. But hopefully our testimony, you know, like about these situations recently and how God opened the floodgates now, maybe it'll encourage you. Or if we can pray for you, you know, definitely leave a comment, message me.
Definitely thanks to all the people that were a blessing to us, and yes, we love you. You guys know who you are, and we appreciate you so much. And thank you to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We love you guys, and we'll be back for the next one, and we'll see you next time.